The impacts of masturbation. That's a very, very good question. And it's a question that all men really search for. Some men struggle greatly with masturbation in a lot of reasons, and it stems anywhere from the way they grew up, the religion they practiced, different things. But all men to a certain degree struggle with it, and particularly they struggle with pornography, and that line, crossing that line from what is erotic and okay into something that's not okay, or maybe subjugating or hurting or some other type. A judge said this once. He said, "I don't know what the definition of pornography is, but when I see it, I can tell you." And I think all of us inside of us have a certain degree of fantasy that's okay to indulge in, as long as it doesn't cause you harm. Pornography, it's not a good thing to use that to fuel yourself, because it's like a drug almost. Pornography, just like any other drug, as you indulge in it, you need greater and greater, you need to see more intense stuff, and eventually you become desensitized to it. But it's a much greater crime to yourself because it causes so much dysfunction, and that completely cloudy area of conscience and guilt. And if you're married and you're doing it, or if you have a girlfriend and you're doing it, or if you're alone you're doing it, or any of those things, you need to be honest with yourself, and you need to see masturbation is a normal thing. It's a norm. There's nothing wrong with masturbation. It's a normal thing, but it should not be abused. Discipline needs to be used. And as far as the way you excite yourself, set your boundaries you truly believe in, and don't go beyond those boundaries. And if you do go beyond those boundaries, you're hurting yourself, nobody else, because this is a private thing you're doing. And the effects masturbation have, I think masturbation, healthy masturbation, is important. I'm celibate. I don't have sex, but I do masturbate. And it's a relief for me, just like anything else. And when I do it in the right spirit, and when I do it in a contained place where I'm not hurting somebody, I'm not looking at things that are against my conscience, it's not a bad thing. And I think how it applies to PE, what's amazing is some men don't masturbate. It's the other side of it. Some men feel guilt masturbating, like they came up in a family that said that it was wrong, that I know when I was coming up, my family told me that if you're doing it, Satan's in the corner, and all these creepy things, or the churches say it's bad, or this and that. But in actuality, I'm not going to bring this on a religious level, but in actuality, in the Bible, the only place it's even mentioned is once where it said, if you do have an emission, go clean yourself, wash yourself, and you'll be clean. So with that said, there's no real rules there, so I think it makes it very cloudy. And when we live in a world that most of the people believe in God, I think they struggle with that. And when it's in their relationships, it makes it more difficult. At matters of size, in penis enlargement, first of all, we found that men that didn't masturbate when they were growing up during puberty ended up with smaller average sizes. Men that did masturbate ended up with larger average sizes after puberty. Men that masturbated with intent and with force and often ended up with an even longer and thicker penis after puberty. So the effects of masturbation are similar to PE, but in PE, you're not doing it for the emission or to get off. You're doing it to better yourself. And what you use to fuel that, a PE session should not be a masturbation session. What you need, if you need to get discipline on this, use PE to free yourself of that. Now, how is that possible? Well, contain what you use to excite yourself to something that you feel is okay. And instead of, if you have a terrible habit and you're masturbating 3 times, 4 times a day and you can't control yourself, make it a reward that you do once a day and build PE into it. So the emission or getting off masturbating, let's not do that until you get your work done in PE, until you actually get all your training in, get your size in. You spend a good 45 minutes and you get yourself nice and thick and you have these good temporary gains. Blow off a load, reward yourself. That's fine. And with that said, under that context, after you do have an orgasm, men, the penis becomes malleable. It becomes much more stretchable. It becomes fatigued. We call it the period, a refractory period, a period it takes from you to be after getting off and getting an erection again. This refractory period, it turns out to be a time when the penis is flooded with hormones from sex, from just getting off, but the penis is fatigued, so the pelvic floor, the muscles that attach to it are not trying to pull on it. So if you practice after you do have an orgasm, you do your stretching then, you're going to see even greater gains. So I think that masturbation as a whole, we're going to get into a lot more, because like myself, and I'm DLD, I mean, I'm the head of this entire brotherhood, and even I struggle with that. Being in this business for a decade, I even struggle with that. And many people I talk to struggle with it. People outside of the forums, men on the street, they're all looking for answers. So I think what's smart is for us to start exploring masturbation, to start exploring the mental impacts it has, and to start really trying to put together things that are okay and things that are not okay, and maybe serving that better, maybe bringing that to people more, so men can find some relief in this and actually make masturbation benefit them. So the new forum will be up, and I hope you guys take part in it, because I think it's going to be a very, very big topic.